you want to advance your life, your finances, if you want to create wealth, President Museveni comes up with words like wealth creation. You think he gets it from where? The Bible. He was the chairman of Scripture Union. The wisdom he has, and many of you of my age, you've been around. We've had 9 presidents. You mention one of them we've had who is wise as Museveni. You see, the scripture is the Bible, and I recommend to each one of you, when people see you reading the Bible, say you are now saved, they tease you, get to the Bible. There's no library where you will go and pick up wisdom, knowledge, revelation, understanding, preservation, health, security, financial independence than the Bible. It is. Thank you for the enthusiasm. The Bible, the history of the Bible is two testaments, Old and New. Old and New Testament. But the Old is the Torah, is what makes up the Torah for the Jews. And that's what they study. And these Jews, I just came back from Israel. I was invited by the President of Israel to go to discuss about the new relationship between Africa and Israel and what we can do together as Africa and Israel. Actually, it's not a new relationship. It's to reenact the relationship that Africa had with Israel. Before America, before everybody, Africa was a close friend to Israel. In fact, Africa grew Israel. Days of Abraham, they all came to Africa to get food. Even Jesus ran to Africa for safety. What people don't understand is that Israel, whenever was in trouble, Africa was so advanced. In those years in the past that we had the rapid force that we could deploy whenever Israel was in trouble. Jeremiah chapter 32, verse 6, 7. It talks about when Jerusalem was about to be seized, and then Pharaoh ordered the troops to go and knock out those Chaldeans and save Jerusalem. Queen Sheba and many, many others, the Ethiopian eunuch, the black man who carried the cross. Actually, those Africans, if they are to be resurrected, and they come back now and they look at us, they will wonder, you Africans, you are coming from where? How comes you are so confused, so poor, so mismanaged? Jeremiah 37 verse 6. Go to verse 7. That's where it is. The Pharaoh led the army to deliver Jerusalem. So you find it there. So, people of God, we have a challenge. So, my basis of our scripture, you're looking for that? Yeah. Jeremiah 37:7. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, thus shall ye say to the king of Judah that sent you unto me to acquire, behold, Pharaoh's army, which is come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt into their own land. Go to verse 5. Verse 6. You see, they came to save Jerusalem. But if all of you would know, between Egypt and Israel, there is a Sinai desert. There is a Sinai desert. So that is about 4-5 hours walk. I mean, if you're really moving by car. So how could you deploy? How could you deploy a force when you are, for example, how would they say, Nigeria and Uganda? That's the distance between Nigeria and Uganda. How would you deploy forces in another country unless you are technologically advanced? That's why when we talk about Africa, they had The European Union was moving with church. Africa had roads. That was over before 2,000 years ago. Before 140 years we celebrate, Christianity came here, they taught us. No, we knew how to read. The Ethiopian eunuch in 2,000 years ago was reading the book of Prophet Isaiah. Africans were more advanced than today. Africa was more advanced than today. We were more linguistic. We were learning other people's languages. 2,000 years ago, we built the pyramids. We embalmed bodies. You don't embalm bodies up to this day. The mummies of the Egyptian pharaohs are still intact. That is 7,000 years ago. So when you hear these teachers, these professors of history, they are not really teaching us history, they are current affairs. They should get back to the Bible and discover how strong Africa was. Here. So Solomon now writes the book of Solomon, chapter 1, Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. And this is really shocking. And this is why I'm calling upon, we need a new discussion. We need to really discuss things about Africa. Solomon writes, this is his song. I am black, but comely. O you daughters of Jerusalem, as the tent of Canaan, as the curtains of Solomon. Go ahead. Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but mine own vineyard have I not kept. Now, this was written 700 years before Jesus came. Since Jesus came, now is 2000. So this piece of literature is 2,700 years old. And Solomon was prophesying about African slavery that happened 2000, and that happened 400 years ago. 400 years ago. So I want you to think through this. Here is a man is singing about slavery that will occur to black people 400 years in our time past, and he sang about it 2,700 years ago. To me, when you discover such a thing, you get concerned. You get concerned. You begin to, you can be, brother, you're blocking people. You can be where those things are. So don't disturb them. So it causes us to go back and study this, go back in this library, and we begin to discover really what went wrong. Really what went wrong to these Africans. Now remember, God, whenever he wanted to save the Jews from famine, whenever he wanted to save them, or Israelis, when he wants to save the world, he turns to Africa. Okay. Whenever he wants to save Jesus, he said, don't go to Europe, they will kill you. Go to Egypt. They will save you. They will grow you. The Hebrews came to Africa when there were only 70. They left with like 2 million. When you don't understand your own history, someone else is going to mess it up. Now, let me come to Uganda. This is our problem. We take care of other people's vineyards, but ours we don't. And the problem is, he said, my mother's children forced me. I don't take it. Now we call planet Earth Mother Earth. So the colonialists, they are children of our Mother Earth. We ourselves, the story of slavery is not being told properly. Because we believe, I've written a book called Readdressing the Imbalance. That's the topic of my book. You can go and download it on Google, download it on our website, Miracle Center, Channel 44 Television, whatever it is, Robert Kayanja Ministries. Download it and read it for free, but the book is sold. In that book, on page 6, President Museveni has written a chapter, a full chapter in that book. But he's addressing points, 6 points, why Africa was colonized. Why Africa was colonized. Sure. Africa was colonized because of 6 points. Number 1, because of poor leadership. We had. Because of poor leadership. Number 2, because of lack of invention. That is mine. We never, you don't hear any African explorer who said, okay guys, we have money, we have gold. Let's explore other worlds. You know, let's go and explore other worlds. Let's find out what is in the world there. We were protected by lions and mosquitoes and malaria because of thick forests. Our forests were impenetrable. But the moment colonialists discovered that they could penetrate, they did. But the first slave masters, before we blame the Europeans, were Arabs. They are the one who first came on the continent of Africa. They are the one who could see the difference between gold, elephant tusks, other things to explore, and they did not sell, they didn't turn our assets into trade, but they said to do trade, slave trade. Instead of selling elephant tusks, selling coffee, selling bananas, selling milk to other part of the world, they decided to take humans as slaves. We are not the first one to be invaded. Asia was. But have you ever had Chinese slaves in Europe? Have you ever had Indian slaves in Europe? Why African? Why African? Why were we turned into slaves? It's a long story, but we need to discuss these issues. It is our internal weaknesses. Internal weaknesses is what caused Africa to be taken advantage of, even today. Now, let me forward you to what you understand, what you know. In 1961, when the whites came here, they could not colonize Uganda. There are 2 countries they did not colonize. Uganda, they failed because the system which they found here was like their system. There was, especially in Uganda, there was a king, but the king was not the one running the affair of the people. He had a katikiro, so which means he had a parliament called a Luchiko, and that was able to manage everything. So it was like more of their system. In Britain, you have a prime minister, you have a king, but then you have a parliament. So they failed to really institutionalize Uganda especially. So as a result, Uganda was declared a protectorate. The Ethiopian resisted. They fought the Italian and repulsed them. So they were never colonized. But other countries, it was a piece of cake. They just colonized them like no resistance. Kenya put up a resistance through Mau Mau and Shaka Zulu in South Africa. But it was not long. It didn't last long. Now, Uganda. 1961, we start talking about our independence. You all know what happened. 1962, we were given independence. A crisis occurred in 1966. This crisis, people think it was moving from federal government into unitary system. No. It was the destruction of capital. Our number one problem in Uganda today and Africa is capital. There was a capital which was created by Ankole Kingdom, Buganda Kingdom, Toro Kingdom. All these kingdoms had created capital. For example, you had always President talk about Emyoga. Africa had developed themselves into sections. For example, in Uganda, the clans were not just clans. The clans were given a national work, apart from individual responsibility. But there was that group of people. You had to specialize and be known for something. For example, the Mbogo clan, where I come from, we were the one defending, protecting special forces, protecting the king. So whoever, and transporting him, you carry the king everywhere he goes, because there was no cars, there was no vehicles. Okay, the Ngabi clan, they're the one who had to find a way of how to rebuild bones of soldiers. Kind of orthopedic today. And even up to today, abayunzi bagamba gende wabali bawo Ngabi clan. I don't know why they said you have to find a way. People are not going to be lame. You need to work on them. Others, like the Navy Force, was run by Mamba. And they said, for you, you're going to be transporting people across the lake. So everybody was organized in such a way that you had a national contribution. Apart from your individual responsibility, you had to contribute in order to build the people. Now, take it furthermore. The wealth, you look at every structure, the way people were doing taxation, the way people were growing, Bulungi Wansi, that is all capital. So in 1966, the capital was removed from the communities and brought into central government. So much was lost. The history, the culture, the livelihood of people. Everything was eroded, even morality, even respect. You could imagine if you grew up in Shema, or you grew up, even in Ankole, the culture alone was very good. People were behaved, people were disciplined, families, all that was taken out and destroyed, 1966. So we lost a large group of capital. Though they tried to create cooperatives, but cooperatives were run by people who had no knowledge of the local responsibility. Okay, now take it further. 1971, Amin comes to power. He did not only steal the Indian properties and gave it to people who are incompetent of running business and factories. He completely crippled the economy. And all that capital was stolen out of the country. We don't even know where it is. We not only lose material capital, but even the brain capital. Professors were being killed from universities. Everybody fled the country. By 1979, when the Tanzanian came, now that's another routine. You remember the word routine? Whatever capital was remained was rooted. Uganda must be very rich because you've been rooted 3 times, but you're still surviving. You're still actually having ability to get together again. Now think about the human ability, the human capital. Think about the brain capital. Think about the progress which was hindered for the past, all those years from 1966 up to 1979 when the Tanzanian came. Things were destroyed, lives were lost. people fled. Okay? And many of them, those who fled 1966, never came back. Those who were in leadership in 1971 were killed, including the Archbishop of Church of Uganda in 1970. And this is where I tell people, because Amin, religion told Amin to ban these other churches and remain with 4 religions in 1973. Little did they know that he was coming after them. You cannot allow a snake to be in any of your room in the house. Because once you do that, once it's finished biting other people, it's coming to you. Amin kills the Archbishop. So now we are all lost. Now, so we continue. 1980, we fight. We fight in 1981 up to 86, the Liberation War.
Browest Communications yakuletera Mbarara Kids Festival. Abana bane b'imyaka 2 okuka myaka 15 2 by'ukwezi kwa 12 ari University in Mbarara okuruga sayibiri z'akasheshi. Aho tutandikira okuzana obuhuna, bouncing castles, water slides, swimming, okutaha buri mwana n'omutwaro gumwe kandi abazira okutaha muno kwabusha buri kararundano w'izooberyo kagendere kimwari Mbarara Regional Referral Hospital okukwatira abana bino burwire bwa kansa okukora booking no kumanya biri kushiraho 0776 23 24 22 na 0700 33 09 bishatirwe TV West, Vima Events, Lato Milk na Dental Access.
Quantified and kept the history and the pictures of the destruction. I was not there, so I don't know how the palace of the king or Omukama in Toro, I mean in Ankole used to look like. I don't know how many cows he had, which was stolen, which was taken. I don't know how many people were destroyed during that period of time. The resources. What about Toro? What about Bunyoro? What about Buganda? What about Bugishu? All that capital was taken. That's why government has been borrowing, because the capital was stolen. From the time Singapore got independence, they have not had a war, so they're piling up on their capital. By the time probably Kenya ever got their independence, they have not had any war of where they have not stolen. Some people have stolen some money, corrupt officials, but the capital has never been taken out. So is Tanzania. Rwanda probably because of the what they had in the genocide. Congo, they haven't had it yet. They also have problems there. But Uganda, now our biggest problem is create the capital. That's why some of these government programs must be appreciated, because some of them are trying to return the capital back to the people. It's not much because it's going to take a century to do so. But with God, it can take 1 year. With God, because how do you start building capital? How do you start building a country? 5 things I'm going to give you. Number 1, peace and security. Peace and security. Can you say peace and security? Peace and security. Some of you are saying it casually. We will not be here. Look at this building. Look at this investment. I know someone who built this investment borrowed a lot of money. But nobody can risk, nobody can put faith at work unless there is peace and security. So Ugandans, we must, all of us, from the north to the south, west to the west, say peace and security is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. There are certain things we can talk about, There are certain things we can begin to argue, but peace and security is non-negotiable. You have to go to Luwero. I did a documentary with the president. We did a presidential tour of the Luwero Triangle. That thing is available on TV. I will ask Channel 54 to replay. We had a television station called TBN. They came and filmed the whole story because somebody was distorting our story of liberation. So I told the president, we're going to lose this. So let's bring a neutral media to cover. And we took a whole week. We toured Luwero. We saw over 10 or 12 mass graves full of skulls and bones, totaling to over 900. There are others who died in the bush that were never. These are civilians, these are fighters, government army, NRA, every group that were fighting. The others died of diseases, others died of war bullets. You can see bullets in people's heads, in skulls. I think it's about 20 mass graves. They put them there, they bury them, but you can open and put the torch there and you see. People died in Luwero Triangle. People from all Uganda, because there were northerners, southerners, westerners. That was a battlefield. Do you know what 1 million people would be today if they had been alive? So peace and security is non-negotiable. And that is just in Luwero. But what about the war of Kony in northern Uganda? How many people are there? Peace and security results into tranquility. So if you have to rebuild a country, that's the first puzzle you have to start. And that has to be engraved in all of us Ugandans. We've been helping in a peace in DRC, in South Sudan. And the problem, what hurts most, is Africans are killing Africans. Africans are killing Africans. There is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. The question we are asking ourselves, why? It's not about making money. Why? Leadership. Point number 2, leadership. Leadership. Point number 2, leadership. Russia is one country. Yes, Russia has a nuclear weapon. But so is England. So is France. So is Germany. All European countries are nuclear hardened. Why are they allowing Russia to butcher the neighbor? And by the way, Ukraine had its nuclear weapon. And that's point number 3, negotiation. When you have poor negotiators, you surrender what you have at will, and you get 0, and you receive 0. Why will Ukraine surrender its nuclear weapons? Because Russia would not have attacked Ukraine, knowing that they have the nuclear weapons. So the question we are asking ourselves, why is the war going on? Leadership. Europe at this particular moment has got weak leaders. If Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of England and Ronald Reagan was President of the United States, Russia would not have attacked Ukraine. You didn't hear what I just said. When you have a weak leader, okay, when you have weak parents, you are always in a hospital. Let me put it that way. You are always in a prison because you are stealing people's sugar cane. You are milking people's cows while they are grazing. and they arrest you and they take you to, because you have a weak period. Uganda has recovered in 40 years, there's no doubt about it. Uganda, now we can see in Barara, with the first class carpet, because we've had a very strong leader. This has nothing to do with politics. I know this is political season, people are politicking. This has nothing to do. Why do I call President Museveni a very strong leader? Because in 1986, he has just come to power. And religious leaders ganged around him. They said, please ban this Barokoli. You know, these days Barokoli are known as Kayanja's Barokoli. Ban these Kayanjas. These Chiwempe people. That's why they called us. But 40 years later, we are no longer in the Chiwempe. People take it lightly. That's why I tell this pastor, please, our freedom of worship is non-negotiable. So I meet President Museveni, military fatigue has been meeting. We met him at 3 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 3 a.m. When other people are drunk, sleeping, the man was working. He said, okay, what's the problem? They presented their issues, I presented mine, blah, blah, blah. He said, no, we are not. I'm telling you. I said, this man is going to take Uganda far. That was my first time in community. I said, this man has a heart for the country. Because I told him, he said, if we don't, he said, okay, if we don't give you your freedom, what are you going to do? I said, we shall get on our knees, fast, and pray you out. I said, we prayed you in. If you also behave like others, we shall go on our knees and pray you out. People of God, you all know the region we are living in. If we didn't have a strong leader, we would have fought with Rwanda a long time ago. You didn't hear what I just said. You know, you people, you don't want to tell the truth. You think if you tell it, you will die. We would have already fought with Rwanda a long time ago. But when you have a strong leader, even when you insult him, he keeps quiet. If you lie about him, he's quiet. Would have fought long time ago with Kenya. There was a time they blocked us and closed the border. You see, when you have a strong leader, he sees far. When you look at how big the parliament is, people say, why do we have a bigger parliament? Do you know how big Uganda is? In terms of ethnicity. Do you know why we had a rebel movement in every part of Uganda by 1973? Buganda was fighting. Kayira had a rebel group. Busoga, Bukedi were fighting. Chiria had a rebel group. Northern Uganda were fighting. Moses Ali had a rebel group. And many other groups. I mean, Uganda was more of like Somalia, but now Uganda has been united. So sometimes when people talk about we are spending more money, there are more members of parliament, we should have lesser. Karamojong fighting. Do you know why people pick up arms and go fight? Because they are excluded. Because they are marginalized. Because they are ill-treated. Those are the three things that causes civil war. Inclusion of everyone is the guarantor of peace. when Jesus came, unlike other rabbis in Israel, he's the only one who said, go into the whole world and make all nations disciples. That's why we love Jesus. If Jesus had remained as Caiaphas, who would be believing in their God? But because Jesus included the whole world is following Jesus. We are following the Bible. Uganda's problem has been embedded, number one, in ignorance. Number two, and ignorance of lack of scripture. Lack of scripture, because when we preach the Bible, we are not preaching it in its totality. And religion is also has a part to play. Because our past evils, hatred, jealousy, envy, division, based on tribal lines, based on religious lines, has been based because of weak leadership in church. When I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about only politics. I'm talking about, for example, let me give you an example. Could you pick up a picture of Karamoja? When I saw the news on Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, and someone said, Pastor, watch, it's happening. I said, what's going on? He said, people are dying in Karamoja. I said, what? He said, people are dying in Karamoja. I said, Mama was in Karamoja for 5 years. She built them a veranda. She gave them seeds. How comes we have a problem in Karamoja? People are dying. He said, hey, people are dying. So I picked up a call. Children were picking leaves. People were emaciated. So during COVID, we had developed our own solution for feeding people in COVID. So I said we'll never use it again. But man dying and the lady burying her little kid, even with no clothes, because her husband died of hunger, everybody died. So I said to myself, how could this be? We just fed South Sudanese. How can we get up to this? Now, when someone reaches this level, this is not a problem of government. This is not a problem of government. This is a problem of leadership. Because if you are, I told you yesterday in the leadership meeting that you have an RDC in the district. He has a counterpart in his injury, or in Kawembe, or elsewhere. When you have a crisis, why don't you call people in his injury? Do you have some free matoke? Do you have some free milk? We have a crisis here. Why do you assume the whole country? So that the misguided people will use this one, thinking Museveni is killing Karamoja to take their land. Why do you incite tribal sentiments? When we have surplus of milk, when we have surplus of food, we have surplus of maize in Oima, you were a leader. You were a leader. The reason why they put you in Mbarara, so that you may find out there is a crisis here and talk among yourself. Why is it that every issue that happened in the country, President Museveni, I hear people, whenever he goes, Mr. President, Tetuina Munyo. Huh? Where is leadership? So I didn't even call the president. I didn't call him Obama. I simply said, are we secure? Yes. Let me talk to the RPC. Let me talk to so-and-so. They say, Pastor, it's okay, but the situation is bad. We've lost 7,000 people to hunger. Not AIDS, not Ebola, not HIV, not anything else, not war. How do we use Ugandans? And you a pastor. Leadership is not only in politics, but when you're a pastor, you're a leader. You're a representative of God on earth. Whatever you bind on earth is bound in heaven. LC1. You attend a funeral of someone died of hunger in Uganda of today. What about the member of parliament? They asked them in parliament, do we have hunger? They said, no, there's no hunger. Now, you tell me, you've seen the pictures. So how do you leadership? So we took them food. Then the Lord told me, he said, look around there. See, that little boy was nearly dying. That one, you see. We found him a week before he died. So we sent them food and nutrition. We brought him to Kampala. He was suffering from pneumonia when you are not covered, when you are not eating. And so we treated him, we sent him back to his family. That boy, within 2 weeks, he had recovered. Please don't waste my time. If you're playing a video, just play it and put that where that boy is. So, he recovered. Now he's going to school. Well, when you really look at the 3 pictures, you can't tell Mark. Mark now is a big boy. He's the only survivor in his family. They all died of hunger. They all died of hunger. That he is now. So people of God, how can someone die of hunger in the Uganda today? Leave alone that, Christians. What is the heart of Christians? What's the heart of Christians? Do you know why we are challenging America now more? We're going to have a big conference next year of fighting racism in the United States with the help of Dr. Paula White and Dr. Donald Trump. They have accepted my suggestion. How can you be a Christian? Listen, how can you be a Christian? How can you be a Christian and you segregate against another because of race? I was delivering a message on Thursday or Friday. Thursday with the Jewish fan community in Uganda. And I said the Jews are being killed in the Holocaust. Even today, the war in Gaza. 7 wars they're fighting, from Iran, from what, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, simply because they're Jews. Why would people hate you simply because you are this? You don't choose the way you are born. You don't choose your parents. So why do you hate me? Because I'm black or I'm white. And yet you claim you're a Christian. So what has Christianity done to you? What has it done to you? You hate me because I'm a Catholic? You hate me because I'm a local? You hate me because I'm an Anglican? The Bible, we're not reading the Bible says, how can you hate the person you know and see? And you claim to love a God you don't even know. Leadership. You know, when the war was in Sudan, we had a crisis. So we sat with General Saleh and said, what are we going to do? The generals in Sudan wanted ranks, politicians' position. Then a video came. Remember, we are neighbors. We are the one helping them pacify their peace. So we are to be blamed. Whether we accept it or not, they will blame us tomorrow that we intervened in their situation. Which if we did it, there will be a genocide, like in Rwanda. So we had to. Sometimes you hear people, why are you there? Huh? I mean, it was killing us. Tanzanians sacrificed their sons and daughters to liberate us. Don't you think it's time for us to return the favor to another person who is suffering? I mean, it was finishing us all. Tanzanians gave their bounty and life. So I called Museveni. I said, Museveni, called him in the morning. I said, I'm loading trucks. I'm talking about leadership. I'm loading trucks. I'm sending food to South Sudan. I said, can you come and help me? So he put on his khaki pants and he came. Nati Kakawunga. I want you to play that thing again. And play it. He didn't know me. So I said, Mzee, mukubire na mukubira. So I arrived, na ye na atikula. Leadership. How can ababbi bajja batya ne babbende ku kyalo when all of you wonderful people are here? In your community, ababbi mbayita bitya ensoma abasoma. And you will lead them. You will lead them. Why don't you mobilize the people in the village? Some of them have no work. They have no job. Mobilize the young people. Take them to Chaka, train them. They can use even sticks. You don't have to have guns. And that in a church is a president. So what's the purpose of your leadership? Number one, peace and security. Number two, leadership. Leadership is very, very important. And I recommend that you wonderful people here, please, at least find yourself 3 months. For us, we have brought you here. But every 3 months, come back again, sit here. Or if this, I was coming from where I stay to here, I see farmlands. Beautiful. You can use those ones if this is expensive. But okay, how many of you love Uganda? Okay. But also I found out, when you do those things I've told you, you'll be blessed. You will be blessed. Some of us are blessed without knowing it. So what will it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose your soul? What is your soul? Your soul is not just salvation. Your soul is, my heart is for Jesus. My soul is for me. Okay. My family is in my soul.
Yeah, we have had a prayer breakfast, and Pastor Kayanja has talked about patriotism, love for our country, and you can't love God and you don't love your country. He talks about what we should do as leaders. People should have faith in us, and we should also have faith in the people we lead. We should basically follow the 4 principles of NRM, patriotism, socio-economic development, democracy, and Pan-Africanism. Loving each other. When we love each other, we tend to support each other and develop each other. Thank you so much.
So how are you ready to see that this election there is peace?
Yes, in our manifesto, we emphasize on peace and security as one of the gains that NRM has brought us and the government has brought us. Peace If we have peace, definitely the economy will flourish. If we have peace, people will work. There's no way you can get out of your home to go and work, to be active, or to serve when there's no peace. So the security is very important. We should not take it for granted, and it's the one that leads to socio-economic development.
I have spent 2 days in Barara, in Wizwera, and other parts around the area for two reasons. Whenever there is a chance to build the understanding of those who call themselves leaders, I take opportunity to do it. And what is understanding? Really, many of our leaders don't come from the soil that prepares them for responsibilities they get. The country is changing. The country is competing against global powers in the marketplace, for example, for food, for medicine, for presence. But the capacity of people who lead at local, community, and national level, very limited preparation. So I do that, and I came to back up Professor Pastor Kayanja, who has been doing a lot of work on production in Karamoja, but on the spiritual side. So this is one reason I came. The second one is to emphasize that in this election period, we want issue-based elections. What are the issues? We need jobs for young people. We are aiming at 1 million jobs, 4 aggregation parks, increase exports to 100 billion in the next 20 to 25 years. How are we going to do this? We can't do them alone unless we emphasize that this election is free, is fair, is very peaceful, and we vote ideas, not personalities. And those ideas will flow on them. The man with the best ideas, even if he's older than a number of them, is President Museveni. To give him this period to affirm the things that he has done well and ensure that we can use the next 5 years to teach the organization of the movement and give it better, fresher leaders, to ensure that our institutions are strong enough to get us to compete, to strengthen our democracy. This is work that we need to speak about.
Thank you so much. My name is Naomi Kabashara, currently an MP for Sheni and also a flag bearer. I am happy to be part of this conference where Mbarara is hosting someone who is in the hierarchy of big person in the religious area, at the same time who has tried to bring up some different economical projects for this country. He's given us some teaching, which I feel that the people who have benefited from his talks, they will be different after this conference. He's talked very many things concerning the spiritual life, concerning economical life and development, and also the unity. It is 40 years since this government took over, and we have spent 40 years in peace. When you talk of peace, people don't see it as peace because they see people who steal chicken, people who beat women or husbands, who fight. They say, what kind of peace? But I want to tell you that generally we have had peace for the last 40 years. When you compare to what is happening in the region, actually we want to appreciate His Excellency the President that all this has happened because of his leadership. I think we can now believe that good leadership matters in as far as bringing peace and development is concerned. Uganda has gone a step ahead, and as far as development is concerned, we lost a lot during this time when the North were in fighting, we lost a lot, because when the country is not together, you get issues of lack of market. But I want to tell you today, we can see a great change in as far as development is concerned. Some people have not felt it, because when people are still poor in their income, household income, you cannot tell them that there is some development and they understand. But I'm happy that when we are looking for votes this time round, some people tell us, because they have touched money which goes through PDM. It is something unique that many countries, I learned yesterday that for China to be like that, some leader just went and said that we must give people money. And it was hard, like it is hard now. But as it continued, people, I think their homes are changed, and therefore the country economically changed. So likewise in Uganda, I think people have not been looking at the development that is on, or some see it, but because the personally or individually has not got anything, so they don't see it. But today, if you tell someone who has touched the money, 1 million, which is given through UPDM, he will tell you that there is some difference. And if it continues, I wish that it continues, which I think and highly hope that it is going to continue in the next term, if the person who started it is given another mandate to run 26-31, I think there is going to be people to develop economically in their homes, the homesteads. When the homesteads get some income, and now we are going to be fighting to get where to market the products. Because I know people who got this 1 million.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank Pastor Kayanja and Mr. Odrick Wogo to have these local engagements with us. We as leaders, we have learned a lot. The Mbarara people have learned a lot, mostly when it came to social economic lectures we had today. To teach someone to get out of poverty is key to his or her life. We have had many engagements. It's not about to evangelism only. No, it's about how our people are going to get out of where they are now. It's not how it used to be. It's how it is today. So we are grateful, and we have asked them to make it annual so that we get more information on how. There is nobody who knows it all. We are living, we are learning new things on how we can transform our lives, on how we can transform our people's lives. So we shall live supporting each other, and we shall keep looking for more information, initiatives, innovations, so that we pass on the message to our people on ground. I thank you.